Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on a journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney
And Kelly.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Sydney.
How are you?
I'm good.
So I've been asked to fill in for some funerals at church a couple of times.
Yes.
And I've done a couple in the past, like at the church I worked in Oklahoma. Not very many, but a couple. And then it's like 2 this month. And the first one I did, they didn't want any hymns.
Right.
They only wanted prelude, postlude, and then like walking music, basically. Which was fine. They made it easy.
Yeah.
And then this one, I think there's like 4 hymns. I haven't gotten the list yet, but there's like 4 hymns and prelude, postlude, which is usual. And it's so sad. Inside, I'm like, oh, that'll be more fun. He's just like, oh, that'll be more fun. It's like, then I'll have to see if they want on the organ or the piano, and like see
That's
that. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, the organ would be more fun. I hope they ask for that one. It's like, I'm just saying, like, the things you think about with a funeral, and you're just like,
you don't think fun
it slightly
at a funeral.
sounds kind of heartless, but I'm not trying to be heartless. It's just like the way that I think.
And I thought it was funny that you said walking music at a funeral.
Well, I mean, like for the pastor to walk
people
around.
coming in.
No, I mean, like in like transition, like walking music, like pastor walks from the pulpit to the center or whatever.
And you do a little music. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
The Walking Dead. I don't.
Oh my God, that's awful.
It is awful. That's my brain.
Yeah, but anyway, that's like
funny.
I was like, oh, it's kind of dark, but like at the same time, real. I don't know. It's more fun. If
It's
I get
more
to play
fun.
some
Well,
hymns.
you're playing there. You're there.
I'm there. Might as well
The
play.
purpose is to play. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So yes, which I mean, I don't mind. Like, it's nice to have some gigs. So
Oh, it is.
And,
Yeah.
And funerals like can be. You get to hear about the person and stuff, and you kind of just see the impact they've had, and it's like you look and you're like, oh, I hope. It's like at least the funerals I've gone to.
Yeah.
Usually well attended, and like have people, and it's like, oh, look at, you think it's just one person, but look at everything they did. And so it kind of helps you bring perspective for your own life. If it's like, I don't have to do something huge, look at how many people this person
affected,
loved and affected, and all, and so it's kind of nice to see, because they're just like, even, I mean, of course it's sad and the people, but then it's like, well, that just means they had that much more of an impact. And it's like, can I do that? How do I do that?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's sad, but at the same time, there's this hope and that you see from that, and that
it's like gaining their
spirit continues on within all these people.
Yeah, it's like getting the positive from it. So it's like funerals are sad, and I've been to a few, and obviously played in some, but I don't know. Even at my own grandma's funeral, it was just like, the positive part of it.
There's so much, to me that can be that.
Yeah,
right. Even in the midst of sadness, there's this joy of what they've blessed you with. Yeah.
And so I kind of like doing funerals for the funerals.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I think that's
getting
neat.
to play them, and they're not too long usually. Less than an hour. Not too bad.
Get in, get out.
Yeah. And I get to prepare by myself. I don't have to worry about coordinating with anybody else. Dress is simple.
The dress is simple. That's what I was thinking about too.
So don't
Your basic
mind
black.
Sorry if you guys hear Bagheera.
Your cat.
I know, he's needy.
That's okay.
So this week is probably the least prepared I've ever. Well, not least prepared. I just literally didn't. It's prepared through life.
Yeah.
But it's like I didn't do any. Like I didn't do. You have a little.
There aren't
thoughts
any questions.
To keep your thoughts going. There aren't any questions.
We're just conversing today.
Yes. Today, I don't know when I'm going to place this within our mental health month episodes. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. But I don't know. I just always think the more people talk about their own experiences with mental health and their own journey and stuff, the more normalized it becomes. Maybe people can identify for themselves, or they can see another person in somebody's story, just be more empathetic. And so I think, and I'm not somebody that shares very often. No. So I'm going to try share a little bit on here. Yeah. And just talk about like our own experiences with mental health, how like our own views of it have shifted and changed, and like what experiences have led to that. So
that's great. That's what,
I think first off, I mean, I guess I do have a question. So like, I have questions. So growing up for you, I'm guessing mental health wasn't even a topic of conversation.
Did not even hear it.
Yeah.
Truly amazing.
Yeah.
I'm because I think back on that, and it's like it just wasn't mentioned. There were a couple people that I knew whose family struggled with things, but it wasn't called mental illness. They didn't necessarily label it. You just knew that they were struggling, and there was some kind of mental thing going on.
Yeah.
That's all you ever heard. And so I knew nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hadn't experienced depression myself.
Right. Even in your like seminary theology stuff, like
Oh, no.
see, I feel like that's talked about. I would think that's talked about now. Pastors help a lot.
I
Of
would
people
hope
through
in their
stuff,
in their care and stuff that they do that more, you know. But again, no, you know, it just wasn't. And so, Now, I'm trying to think. Counseling and therapy, some,
really,
but it wasn't labeled with other things. You know, it's just you go and talk things out. And I had gone when y'all were young. I was just struggling. I just needed somebody to be objective and talk things through with, both career and some family stuff. And with things that I was going through with my mom. And so I did go, I found a recommendation, went, and very helpful.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't, that was for my own well-being.
Yeah.
Let's say that. And it was
it hard to make that decision to do it?
It
or were you
really
just
wasn't.
Like,
I was like, no, I need some money. It's okay, you know, and it wasn't difficult.
That's good.
Yeah. And, so that was my first, you know, just my experience with that.
Yeah.
But then I had, when Lauren was in high school, and she came to me and said, Mom, I'm sad. I'm not just sad.
Yeah.
I'm really sad and I'm depressed and I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful that she came because
she came
a
to
lot
you
of
about
people
it,
don't. Now, she struggled coming to me with it.
Yeah.
But she was encouraged to do so.
That's good.
So we did. And my thought at that moment was, good, we'll find her somebody to talk to and we'll get through and it'll be done.
That's what I would think too initially. Oh, man.
And so we were relatively new to the area. So
we just
asked
moved,
a pastor and he gave a recommendation and went, and it was the most unfit match.
Yeah.
And I made her keep going because I didn't
For
realize how bad
long?
it was.
Do you remember?
A couple months, maybe.
Okay.
And so it wasn't too long.
No, that's not too bad.
But it just came such a battle. And I thought, well, you know, and I had to trust that.
Yeah.
And then I decided I needed to learn something about it. So I found a recommendation for a therapist to go and talk to so I would know.
Yeah.
And through them, they gave me another recommendation.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And this person, it was more of a fit.
Yeah.
And, but it wasn't just go talk and be done.
Yeah.
Eventually there was medication that became involved.
Yeah.
And that was difficult because I had to trust that she would say it worked or didn't work.
And like, was that, because I mean, she had medication even before with ADHD.
Yeah, ADHD, right? And that was...
Because that was first.
That was back in elementary school. Yeah, and that's when I realized, oh, I have ADHD.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until she went through all the testing and was done that. And that was difficult, too, to put a child on medication. Yeah. Because it's one thing when you give it to yourself.
But giving it to your kid is
But deciding that for a child and knowing what works and what doesn't and trusting them.
Because that took a bit, too, to find the right medication. Yeah, and you had to
she had a couple different ones.
Listen and trust and like...
And I was... The fear of losing her personality. That was so scary to me. I didn't want to lose her.
That stuck around, though, after the ADHD medication. Like, I don't think... I think in that... Depression was different. But I think with that, I still felt like she was...
She was still hurt. Yeah, she pretty much was. Yep. Yeah. There was a time with one of them, there was a time when you could tell she was coming off it. A little cranky.
Yeah.
But then she found something else.
And it worked.
Yeah, it's different. But you know, the thing about, I guess, learning, and it's not fun, is this therapist a fit?
Yes, yeah.
Because you just want to get in and get it going.
Yes.
And when it's not, you feel like you're starting over. Mm-hmm. Although you're not. The other thing is insurance.
Yeah.
A lot of therapists don't want to deal with insurance anymore.
Yeah,
now
because
you
it's a
can
lot of
file
admin.
on your own
It's a lot of admin headache
or
for
do
them.
something. Yeah, there's so much to it, and it's costly. So it's
Yeah.
if you can
Afford it.
afford it, and or find a sliding scale, or
Yeah.
there's some finances involved with that.
for sure.
And that was another thing.
To
I mean,
navigate.
this whole thing was such a learning experience.
Yeah.
The other part, as a caregiver or parent, was we're used to being able to fix.
Yes.
And
Yep.
there's nothing I could fix.
Yeah.
I had to learn that was the hardest part, was to walk beside her. And I know for a fact that I propped her up too long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And Paul didn't know. Yeah, I mean, he was very supportive, but we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And
it's like this
scary
fear of
as a
like, if I
parent.
let go, what's going to happen?
Yes, and having not had any experience or
yeah.
been talked about it before,
Yeah.
it was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is scary. And you know,
Yeah, and coming from a generation that just like didn't talk about it.
know
I
anything
mean,
about it.
hopefully the goal is like my generation with our kids,
Yeah.
like we're much more informed. I mean,
Right.
not that we'd always make the greatest decision. You know, it's like it's still
No.
a struggle, but
yeah,
I think it's just something that is more open, you know, to talk about and stuff.
And
yeah.
it definitely is. And then there's this part of, as the caregiver, whether you're a parent, sibling, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, you may be dealing with this with a parent. You may be the child. You know, it's, you know, I lost my train of thought there. As that, how do I take care of myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I care for myself? And
it's almost even more important because if you start sliding, what's that going to do for them too?
yeah,
You know?
it very much
Yeah.
so. It's I had to learn to take care of myself and take the time to take care of that. Whether that be depending on my faith,
Yeah.
my friends, finding other support
Yeah.
to go through this,
Yeah.
because it's really hard.
It is. And I think, yeah, I mean, for me, pretty much my sole experiences with mental health has been through Lauren.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, luckily as a sibling, it's a little different. I didn't have any responsibility to like make sure she was okay. I mean, I had to deal with some of the fallout or aftermath, you know, that sort of stuff. But I luckily did not. I could watch.
You could, yeah.
Which is I mean, I was a kid, of course. That's all I really
It's
should
not
have
your
done.
responsibility.
It's not my responsibility. Yeah.
You know?
But like watching her, it's hard if you haven't, like, I didn't have ADHD. I didn't have any of that stuff growing up. I never really suffered from depression at all growing up. I had, good, I don't know, my mental health, at least through high school and into college, it was fine. I probably had some anxiety, but it was never so much that I couldn't cope with it or find ways or breathing or what, and so I didn't really have to deal with that. And so it's hard if you haven't gone through it and if you're like me and you just don't struggle and you see other people and you're like, come on, what are you doing? Just like figure it out. Just like you got it. And I'm someone that pushes my emotions down too. Not always in a healthy way, but but it's just like, just come on. You've gone to therapy for this long. You have your medication. Like, what the heck? It's okay to think that way. And then to reset and be like, okay, I should empathize a little more. Or it's just like they're doing what they can, trusting they're doing what they're capable of. But I don't know. I don't feel guilty necessarily for thinking that way because I had my own knowledge and experience of it. But it's something where it's like everybody is hopefully doing whatever their capacity can handle, whatever they're capable of. Yeah.
And speaking of that, because I think that's very typical thought. Just get up and move.
Yeah.
And
I know she'd be sitting in her room sometimes, and it's just like, well, I feel better when I go for a walk. She could not
do that. And the more I've talked with people, it's like,
it's very common.
That's part of their therapy is, okay, then just get up and brush your teeth, take a shower.
Yes.
Do this movement.
Yeah.
And just, you, until you've experienced, you really can't understand it.
No.
But you can be empathetic and go, I'm watching. And I think one of the things that I've watched you, and you may not be aware of it, but because you watched Lauren, you were more empathetic toward others who were struggling.
Yeah.
You saw, and the steps forward,
and
then the steps back,
backward.
and then the steps forward, and the continuous. And I have to say, through it all, there's this persistence and strength that comes through that you don't see until much later. And you're like, wow, you kept going.
Yeah, and you do see it later. Yeah, and that's the hardest part. Is like everything that happens, it's just you have to wait, and it's just patience. You know?
And then you see this, what seems like small steps for other people are huge steps for people that are struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, other things. There's a whole host.
Oh yeah.
Right. And the other thing is that caregivers and such, they can only do what they're capable of as well.
Yeah, that's true.
In dealing, because with parents who go, you hear things. How do I deal with my child with depression? I can't do that right now. Yeah. I mean, as a parent, you got to buck up at some point.
At some point, you got to buck up. But
it's also, they have to have time to wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
They have to have time to go, what am I capable? It takes research. It takes advocating. There's a lot of work involved.
There's a lot of work. Yeah.
You know? And I would choose nothing else to do.
Yeah. But it takes a lot. Yeah.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I have to say that I was very conscious of, because it does take a lot of energy, am I there for my other child?
Oh, yeah.
And if you have more than one, more than two, am I there for my other child? I have to be present for them. You can't, to do the balancing.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I had that experience with just dealing with Lauren. And then, got through college fine. And then it was like coming on before, but definitely after I had Charles, I had postpartum anxiety, like for sure. One, my birth experience was insane. And then two, I mean, I think I'm just a rigid scheduled person, and that's not a baby. And so all of my anxiety came out in dealing with the sleep schedule, being stressed over my own sleep in an unhealthy way, trying, I think, to force naps that were like not held like by himself too, like trying to force things that weren't ready, that he wasn't ready for yet, which is fine. And then being mad and resentful and so frustrated, being stuck, even though that's like not what you're taking care of a human. That's a whole freaking job. But it just felt like I'm forced and stuck to be here. And then that affected my interactions with a lot of people. And then, but I don't know. I do feel like I tried to get help really quick. I went to EMDR therapy to deal with the birth trauma. And that helped. And then after that kept going and like talking through my anxiety and like how it literally, there were times it just felt like a freaking ocean wave just hitting me. And I was like, I am so overwhelmed. I'm sinking and I don't know how to get through this other than being really mad and frustrated all the time. And so then that's when my therapist recommended anxiety medication. And luckily, honestly, if you have a therapist and you go to your primary care or GP or whatever, they're pretty quick of like, oh, your therapist recommended this. Okay, here, let's start with the small dose of, Lexapro or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm on like a really small dose of anxiety medication, which I very much enjoy having. And that's really, since I started taking it, my body got used to it. I have not had that just crashing way. Like, I'll have, some flare-ups of anxiety, but it's nothing like it was. Thank goodness. But that was kind of like my own journey, with mental health. And then even now, like since going through divorce stuff, I'm more, I think I just give myself more grace of like, oh, today is a down day. And I was talking to my therapist now, and she was like, yeah, you're probably just, some situational depression can happen. That'll go on and you have to, and I'm much more of the mindset of let yourself feel it now or else it's gonna really be
come
brought
back.
up later and it'll bite you in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you least expect it. So you need to
Yeah.
like handle and feel what you're feeling now. And I'm sure that's what happened too with my postpartum anxiety of just like bottling up all of this resentment and anger and frustration, all the crap that I was feeling in me. And then even if somebody's trying to come in to help, I'm going to lash out at them because it's like, no, this isn't what I want. Like, it is not. And so it would just be a lash out, you know? But now it's like, I think I'm avoiding doing that to people because I'm much more just like, this is how I'm feeling now. And I can handle it and emotions pass. And, you know, it's like just giving that extra room for grace. Yeah.
And I can see that. And
because you were there the first
yes,
3
I
weeks
was.
after Charles was born.
And, I did. Well, there's so many things with that because you have an image of what the birth is going to be like.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And the struggles there.
And I feel
thankfully, Charles was
he was totally fine. Yes. Thank God.
And but you did. And one of the things I know, you'd get out and you'd take a walk.
Yes,
and
every
you're
day.
in Oklahoma and it's not pretty
I don't
weather.
care.
Every day you
day.
got out. And I know now you make sure you do yoga and Pilates or whatever, stuff that
Movement.
you do, movement, whether you call it exercise, movement is important.
Yeah,
for and
sure.
so I see you doing
a lot of that now
the best
too.
you can, with what you do. And
for sure. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of people, I don't know, I think it's common. If things do not go the way that you envision, if they don't meet expectations, I think that's where a lot of disappointment, anxiety, eventually if it happens for long enough, depression, all that stuff. I think it's just life is never going to go how we want. And it's that inflexibility in our own images that I think can cause a lot of, I don't know, mental distress, at least for me.
Yeah, it can. It can. It's hard. And until you've experienced something. Yeah. It's hard to watch. When you were growing up, you'd do Post-it notes everywhere. In the morning, everything was on a Post-it note in the morning.
Yes.
I just thought you were a type A personality.
No.
But it was this
anxiety.
anxiety that I didn't want to forget anything. I don't want to do, and so.
It gave me a reassurance.
Yes, And if we hadn't had something planned and we tried to do something.
Oh my gosh, you guys had to work on that with me.
Yeah, so it was, things
so it's
that
like,
you
I think
realize.
I've always had it, but it was never so bad that I couldn't cope. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you've had, your own, I'm sure, like highs and lows.
I've had highs and lows and situational depression.
Yeah.
And just knowing it's a part of life.
Yeah. I think too, I do hope like more people are recently
seeking
like
help.
These, like, sure, you can have mental health stuff. It doesn't, for some people, it's their whole life, and that's a struggle. And that's not my experience, but we obviously have people in our family that is their experience, and you want to be there for them. It is still so common for it to be situational, and go get the help that you need for the time that you need it.
For the time that you need it, And one of the things is, and I can remember Lauren saying this: this doesn't define me.
Yeah.
I am not depression.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying, I am feeling sad.
Yes.
That's different than saying, I am sad. I am feeling, this is something I'm feeling. It's an emotion. It's a this. I live with depression. I am not depression.
Yeah.
I am not anxiety. This is something that I cope with, that I have learned, and there's so many coping mechanisms now. There's so much more out there to available.
Yes.
I have not done any of the tele stuff.
Oh, telehealth.
Yeah, tele as far as not for therapy, but that's more accessible and affordable than many.
Yeah.
And I know some therapists that are on that. That's all they do. But so there is some. There's NAMI is, and we'll link that up.
NAMI,
Suicide Hotline. We'll do all those links.
Yeah, we'll link those
for this for our whole month. But it's thank goodness it's talked about more. And hormones, different stages in your life.
It all
you
affects
differently. And,
For sure.
So it's just out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, I think it'd be almost impossible for any human to not go
you
through
have it.
some sort
Whether
of bit.
you, however
Whether
long,
you seek
Yeah.
professional help or not, like everybody's
it is
dealing with it at
life.
some point.
It is life,
Yeah.
And I think when you're going through something, if you can have a friend or somebody to talk with just to share it,
that
makes
does
it,
help.
And bottom line is most people will go, oh yeah.
Yeah. A lot more
I
people
do that too.
will relate. Than you think.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the whole point of this episode, was to show it's like, hopefully you can relate to us and what we've gone through.
Yeah. It's just a lot. I can think of branches of my family and go, oh, they're struggling with anxiety. They're struggling with
this.
And it's different, and it's just there, and it's okay.
Yeah,
to
it is. Yes.
Acknowledge that and find your people, find your help.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, those are little, I don't know, not tell all, but experience on mental health for our own,
that's
our own personal experiences.
Journey. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, to hopefully supplement some of the other stuff we are going to be talking about. I don't know if this will be before or after, but I know we're going to be talking about some different therapy types: cognitive behavioral therapy, electrical behavioral therapy, EMDR, which is what I've done before. And so, hopefully you'll get some good info from that episode as well, to kind of help you see the therapy world and not be maybe so intimidated by all of it.
And it's not just go talk.
There are lots
so
of
much
other
more
things
to it that
there's a lot
that
definitely
come to it.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, God, we have to do the work.
Oh yeah, gotta do the work.
Even going to therapy, we have to do the work.
We have to do the
right?
work. Yes,
it's up to that person. I think that's one of the things I learned is, I can't do anything for you.
No,
it's on you.
It's on you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
I can walk beside you, and I'd be happy to. But
definitely.
Yep.
Cool. And so if you have any topics too, as we start going into the summer, anything fun that you want to listen to or have us do some research on, you can reach us pretty much any social media platform, on our website, Patreon, all of that good stuff.
So we look forward to next week when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us, and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.